I'm Leilani, and I'm joined by my sister, Iman Cooper, today. And today we're going to explore the stories behind the creativity, the challenges that shape the journey, and the moments that remind us that our gifts are never meant to stay hidden. Now, I'm so honored to be talking with you today. I thought it would be better if you actually just introduced yourself to the audience.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Leilani. I'm so honored to be here with you out here in Zilker. And I'm really excited to be here because I am a creative in many different ways and aspects. I've been a creative since I was kind of young, and I was kind of thinking about the thread of creativity that's kind of run through my life since I was young. And I think it's just been something that has taken different shapes and different forms as I've developed it with God. I paint, I do photography, but I'm also a strategist, and I am working on building the connection catalyzer to help people be more connected and feel more human. And so I like to incorporate creativity into everything that I'm doing, whether it's strategic or hands-on creativity.
I love that. Yeah, I was so excited to have you because I just knew that it was going to be a great conversation. But so the first question that we like to ask us is, what does being a chosen creative mean to you?
I think it means just really creating with God. And I think it means creating from his heart, and also recognizing that we are creative beings. Humans are creative because we're made in the image of a creator. And so I think oftentimes people think that they're not creative because they don't paint or sing or dance. But I think, at least on my journey, the biggest thing has been realizing that because we're made in the image of a creator, that we're all creative. And so when I'm creating, I'm tapping into the nature and the essence of God, how he creates and how he does things.
Yeah, I definitely resonate. I think that's how I love to just share that with people as well. Of we were created to create, that's kind of the basis of it. I know that you mentioned essentially you're a multidisciplinary creative. You have all these different outlets, and even from a young age that it was something that you explored. And what would you say you had to leave behind to really be who you are now?
In terms of creativity specifically?
Yeah, what was that shift where were you always creating with God, or was there a point that shifted for you?
I think when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily creating with God. I just grew up in a house where creativity was encouraged. So my sister and I actually started a business when we were 9. From 9 to 17, it was our first business that we had, and we made it was called Cooper Creations. And so we made all sorts of whimsical women's accessories, and it really just kind of came out of, we would make gifts for Christmas and birthdays. And my mom really had a value on handmade gifts, supporting small businesses, shopping local, handwritten cards. And that's kind of where my love for writing people notes, letter writing, which has kind of been a theme in my life. That started, but that was also where the creativity started. And I remember when I was younger, when I was making jewelry, I would make separate designs for myself because I didn't want to wear the things that I had made to sell for other people. So I always really liked having that very unique. I wanted everything that I did to be very unique. But when I was younger, it was very different. When I would make jewelry, I would see it in my mind and then I would create it. And then when I started doing photography, I kind of started thinking in picture frames. I would see people or moments and I'd be like, oh, that would be a great photo. And then people kind of just encouraged me to start Like they were like, you should start, like put an actual camera in your hand. Like, don't just think about it. And then I think the shift happened when I started painting about 5 years ago. That was really different because all of the other times that I had created, I would see it in my mind, which I think is how a lot of people create. And then I would just implement it. I would make it. But when I started painting a few years ago, it was a completely different creative process. And that felt like the first time that I was really like creating with God. I just felt like I didn't have any painting training. I hadn't painted since I was 5 or 6. And then I just started feeling like this desire to want to paint. And I knew that it was from God because I hadn't painted in so long. And so I just started painting with the Lord. And I heard Teresa Dedman say, like, just create for the sake of creating. Like, you don't have to create to try and make something that's good. Or, you know, I think a lot of time people struggle with perfectionism, which is something that I've definitely struggled with, of like, well, I don't want to make it if it's not going to be perfect, if it's not going to be awesome, if it's not going to be excellent. But with painting, it was such a different experience because I just started creating for the sake of creating. And I just felt like his pleasure and the joy of creating and like the fun of like creating with God and doing it with God. And then that led to a lot of like supernatural encounters with painting that just opened up something totally different for me.
Oh, that's so cool. So what you said that was like 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Wait, okay, so so I had a similar experience.
Really?
Like I think that was, yeah, 5 to 6 years ago. Cause I like painting was like my first love, but I was like I grew up in a way where it started to become more of this like discipline, right? I went to school for visual arts too, and like I literally stopped painting altogether at one point. And it was about 5 years ago that I just had this urge, like literally nothing else. I just wanted to paint.
Wow.
And I still had my old supplies from high school. I had them stored in a closet, and I took them out. And I knew that the way that I was painting was different. Like it felt like like it was like this feeling where when I was little, like it was just childlike. And I would love to, I don't know, like what, I guess I have so many questions because I knew that was a way in which God was wanting me to connect with him, or reconnect with him in a way.
Yeah.
But there was like so many things going on, and like even just like mentally, where I didn't realize until maybe like a few years later that that was really a path that he opened of like tapping into his spirit, you know, to the Holy Spirit. And I believe, you know, all these different processes that we have are sacred, but like something about painting is just different. So I'm curious about like what is, in terms of all the mediums that you use, what's something about painting that the Lord has like maybe revealed to you or stood out to you?
Well, I think the thing with creativity is I think that you go through different seasons in your life. And so I think right now painting is just the thing that God's breathing on. And so I think it's important to pay attention to what you feel life on. And there might be certain mediums that you connect with more in one season than you do in another. I think for me, for painting, I'm enjoying the creative process of that just because it's so spontaneous and so not scripted. So I paint like abstract acrylics. And I think because I don't know what I'm going to create, it's like I'm allowing the creation to emerge as I do the process. I also think that it helps me be very present, and just like very in the moment. And I've noticed like when I try to copy like paintings that I did before, it doesn't work out and I don't like them as much. And so I think it's just like continually allowing myself to just not force it. Just like whatever is gonna emerge is what's gonna emerge. And then I also think like recently when I was painting something, I just felt like the pleasure of the Lord like on my paintings. And that can sound really strange. But I had never like, I don't feel like I had felt that before, and it felt distinctly different, and it felt like he was smiling at me, and like he was like enjoying watching me enjoy looking at the paintings. And I call them encounter art, so art that leads into encounter. And it's because I was looking at, I had 3 different distinct experiences with paintings that people had painted with the Holy Spirit, with prophetic art. And it led me into these supernatural encounters with God. And so when I look at them, I just look at them until they speak to me. And then God speaks to me just in different ways as I'm looking at them. And then I've done that with other people, and I've seen God speak to other people and deeply touch their hearts as well. And that has just been so beautiful and powerful to see, because it's like sometimes we forget like God can use anything to speak to us, and he wants to use whatever we dedicate to him and we invite him into. He wants to use that to speak.
Yeah, that's so cool. What came to mind was like, because even like the idea of prophetic art, like I didn't even know about that a few years ago,
Yeah.
like I was just like, what, this is a thing?
Yeah.
And then I saw I saw at a few churches that they had that too, and I was like, wow, how beautiful that like we get to really partner with him and like literally painting the canvas, right?
Yeah.
So for someone who maybe doesn't know what prophetic art is, or maybe it's a newer concept to them, like how would you explain that to them?
Yeah, so I would say if you're new to prophetic art, you've never heard about it, it's really just simply artists that are catching the heart of God and painting what's on his heart and on his mind. So sometimes he'll give people messages or encouragement. Sometimes it'll be a vision that they'll paint. And so the difference really just is like recognizing the source, recognizing the creator, and then painting with him and allowing him to speak through that. So it all has a purpose. A lot of prophetic art, usually the artist will tell you, like, this is what it means. Like, this is the message, this is the meaning, this is what I felt like God was saying as I was painting it. And my art is a little bit different because rather than, well, actually, one of the ones I was saw someone painting at a church. I was kind of in the back of the room. She was painting live on stage as the worship service was happening. And I went up to her afterwards, and I was just so moved by what she was painting, and I wanted to know the meaning. I wanted to know, what was on her heart, what was on her mind, as to why she was painting that. And she just stood back, and she just took a moment, and she just held up the painting, and she just asked me to stop and look at it and look to see, like, what did I see? And then she just asked me, like, what did I feel like the Father was saying through that? And then she allowed that to be the meaning. And so it was just this really beautiful, powerful, marking moment where she led me into an encounter with God, but she didn't give me the meaning herself. And so that kind of became the model for the way that I create and the way that I do my art. Like, it is prophetic in nature because it's painted with God. I just believe that there'll be healing and restoration as people look at it. but it's not defined from the get-go. And so it's like open to interpretation, and people can have different, people just have different interpretations and meanings of what each piece means. And I think that's really powerful and really beautiful to see.
I love that. I think, yeah, just like giving that freedom, or like just creating space for that freedom. Because I feel like a lot of times, like, you know, not just with art and anything in life, it's like sometimes by our own limitations, we're restricting what it could actually mean, or what it could actually, you know, the possibilities or the opportunities. And it's,
Yeah.
I almost see it as like sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, like trying to box God. You know, like we're trying to put God in a box based on our own limitations as humans, but
Yeah.
we can't, you know, we can't put God in a box, right? So it's like, the way you were explaining your art, it's like maybe what one person sees, somebody else sees something completely different.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's not God.
Yeah.
You know. So what came to mind is more so of like, and the scripture, like one body, many parts. And how would you say that can tie into just the way that we as believers can experience God, or even just, yeah, like within our own gifts of like how we experience him, but also how we share his glory and his love and his light?
Well, can I tell you about what shifted my perspective about what creativity can look like? Because I think like, to your point, we do often put God in a box, and because it's comfortable for us. Like, we're like, this is nice and neat and tidy, and I understand creativity to be painting, singing, dancing. That's it. You know, sometimes like scientific people like don't think that they're creative. But I actually
It goes.
Okay. I actually just believe that creativity can be infused into any industry, any profession, anything that you're doing. So something that like shifted my perspective on creativity and the power of creativity and how the supernatural can partner with your natural creativity. A few years ago, I read this book called Born to Create by Teresa Dedman. Have you read it?
I have not. I'm
Okay.
gonna add it to the list.
It's amazing.
Okay.
So she is passionate about activating people in their creativity and helping them partner with God and as they create. So like I started to hear these testimonies of, you know, people that were dancing over people, and people were getting healed and set free from emotional, mental issues, physical issues, people that were cooking. There was actually this story, this is like one of my favorite creativity testimonies, where these people owned a pizza shop. So they're business owners, right? They're not just creatives. And they were like, God, how do we partner with you? We want to invite you into our process, into our business. And he was like, pray over the dough. And they were like, okay. So they started praying over the dough, and then people would literally come to their pizza shop and eat their pizza and get healed. And this girl had this dream. She had celiac disease, and God gave her this dream of going to this pizza shop and that she would be healed of celiac when she went and ate their pizza. And she lived across the country, and she flew across the country, went to this pizza shop, and literally ate their pizza and got healed of celiac disease. And that was literally just like them partnering with God. Like their creativity, their outlet for them was cooking, you know? And so because they invited God into the process, like supernatural results happened as a result. And so I just love that story, because it's like, if God can partner with someone in a pizza business, then he can partner in whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're making clothes, if you're painting, if you're coming up with a cure for cancer. Like, as long as you invite him in, he wants to be a part of it, and he wants to partner with you. And then the other story that I really love, George Washington Carver. He was the scientist that discovered over 300 like uses for the peanut. And what a lot of people don't know about him is that he had this deep relationship with God, and he literally he was asking God for like revelation about like a bunch of different things, and God was basically like, no, like you need to like narrow down, narrow down, narrow down. And then God was like, he was like, teach me what you love about the peanut. Like, will you reveal to me what you love about the peanut? And then all of these inventions, peanut oil, peanut butter, you know, the peanut press, like all these different things came out of literally his conversations and his exploration with God. And so he was creating and innovating in science, which, as someone with a biology background and someone who is planning to be a doctor, like, I just think that's just really encouraging that he can use you no matter what industry you're in, and creativity isn't tied to one thing. It's not confined to one box. You can be creative in any industry. And then the last thing I'll say is the other thing I learned from Teresa Dedman was she said her goal is not to be creative in one area. Her goal is to increase her creativity and be as creative as she can be in every single outlet. So be as creative as she can when she's cooking, be as creative as she can when she's being a grandma, be as creative as she can when she's being an author, be as creative as she can when she's paddleboarding, whatever it is. Like, she wants to increase her capacity for creativity in every area of her life, and then it spills over into everything.
Yeah. Wow. I definitely need to read the book. I love that, and that resonates a lot because I've observed that too, of like, and like a lot of people, even like some workshops that I've hosted, like people will literally be like, "Oh, I'm not creative." Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's like, it's literally having to unlearn this. Really, it's like this programming that we're taught that this looks like this way, this looks like that way, and anything in between, like, it's just non-existent. But really, it's like you were saying, how can we experience creativity in various industries and various aspects of our lives? And you know, part of why we even want to have these conversations is like, everyone is coming from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, from, you know, different career experiences. Like you said yourself, you're studying biology, or what was it?
Yeah, I studied biology and peace and global studies.
Yeah.
Because I was planning to do Doctors Without Borders. But I also have, you know, a diverse background as an entrepreneur and coach and consultant, and then there is the creative side of me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The creativity is like, it's in all of it.
It is.
It's in all of it. And I think it's so beautiful that we get to just even explore what that looks like. Like, we're in a time now, especially as we're being more intentional about what it is to partner with God. Like, I think it's a great way to exercise our creativity, and on like, how can we be creative here? How can we be creative there?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what would you say, whether it's your creativity or, you know, beyond that, what would you say God's been teaching you in this season?
It's a great question. I love that question, actually. It's my favorite one to ask people usually. So I love that you're asking me that. I think he's teaching me a lot of different things. I think right now he's teaching me a lot about boldness and what it looks like to be who he's called me to be, unapologetically, and to stand up and be bold about that. But even just through like getting involved with outreach in church, like just recognizing that things can look great on the outside, but like people are suffering, people are in pain, and like that there's such a need for like relationship with Jesus. And so even learning how to like share the gospel with people and like be bold about that. So I would say boldness.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I know like I feel like people can assume, people can always assume, and like you were saying, like what you see on the outside, but like it's a daily practice, and I think even as believers, right, it's like literally like picking up your cross daily. Like it's so humbling. It's so humbling. But like that aspect of boldness, I know that there's a lot of people that are experiencing that. And like I think I personally was battling that for a while of like
Mm.
what does that even look like? Because I've never actually seen it the way that like we can see. I think there's a difference between loudness and boldness.
Yeah.
And to be bold in what it is that God has really called each and every single person to. There's so much discomfort in it, but
Yeah.
I want to say that you're doing an amazing job. You're doing a great job, and that I think that the more that we can have even conversations like this, that we can do this together and not we're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
Um, you want to go?
Yeah. I mean, thank you. But I also just want to celebrate the boldness that I see in you. Like even over the past, few months, you've just stepped into a new level of boldness. Like even with leading chosen creatives and like choosing to show up and say like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go all in. We're going to be here. We're going to be consistent. And so I think that's really powerful. And I think that it's really important that you're activating people to step into the call of God on their life and to do it together, that people don't have to do it alone. Because oftentimes we think that we have to do things alone, or we think that we're alone. And so I think having like the community is really important. But like, I just honor and celebrate that in you, because leaders go first, and I know it takes courage to step into a new level of boldness of what God's like called you to do.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So for our last question, what would you say to the creative who's just waiting to start?
I don't want to say the cliche. So what I would say is simplify. Make it simpler than what you think that it needs to look like. I would say take the pressure off of yourself for it to be perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And then just invite God to create with you. Ask him how he wants to partner with you in your creativity, and then see what he says, and then do that. And then I want to bless, as you're stepping out, I want to bless your creativity time to be so fun and so full of joy, that you feel the pleasure and the delight of God with you and on you as you're creating with him.
Thank you so much. So, as you guys go back into your everyday life, remember this: the greatest work God does through creativity is often the work that he does within the creative. May you continue to create boldly, steward your gifts faithfully, and trust that God is shaping you even as you build what he's placed in your hands. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. And if this episode's encouraged you, please share it with a friend, share it with another creative, subscribe to this channel, and we will see you on the next one. Wait, bring the flags next time. It's on Instagram. I saw it.
I'm not on Instagram.
I saw it at Dwell. I saw you over. Yeah, I see it.